Welcome, my food mood friends. Chandra Zas. Coffee enemas, migraines, and superpowers. Oh my! No, but if you are someone who has migraines, welcome. If you're someone who knows migraines, you probably want to send them this video. Just subscribe to my channel. I have a bunch of other videos on coffee enemas, how to do them, what they are, why they work, microbiome, how to, they're all of these pieces. So go check out my channel, my video library, and look at more for the other coffee enema pieces.
Welcome! Here is your hostess and coach, Chandra Zas, helping people make food and mood changes doable without missing out. Go ahead, high five that like button, subscribe and share while you're there.
When I worked at the Raw Food Detox Center up in Ithaca, New York, one of the things that I really saw firsthand as miraculous miracles for people with migraines happen is delivering a coffee enema to someone who had a migraine and watching them 2 hours later look like a brand new person. So I want to give a little context. The Raw Food Detox Center I worked at, it was like all raw foods and there was no caffeine. And oftentimes people who suffered from migraines would have a migraine flare-up during the detox process. Now, I don't really know like the science behind what happens with migraines and how coffee enemas help migraines. What I can tell you is from my experience, and one of the things that I have really seen a connection between is the state of our gut and the state of our brain. And I know that there's a lot of research now being done about this really strong connection. And being someone with celiac, which I actually just did a video on that, so you should definitely go check out that video also. But being someone with celiac and feeling when I have bread or gluten in my belly and really seeing the effects on my brain. For me, honestly, a majority, like when I eat a few crumbs, I don't really have the belly issues. What I really have is the brain issues. And when I've done detoxing in my life, as I was really supporting my body and doing some detox stuff, I definitely experienced many headaches. I don't think I've ever really had a migraine, but I've watched people at the detox center like literally look like brand new people after a coffee enema. So I want to talk a little bit about like what happens from actually not a scientific perspective. So I'm just going to totally be upfront and honest with that, but from what I've seen firsthand and what I've experienced firsthand.
Hello, my friend. How are you? I'm in the Dead Sea floating in the water. Go ahead and like and share and follow so we can keep in touch.
When we use coffee enemas, one of the things that I've understood is that it's processed through our bodies differently, which makes sense. We're not drinking coffee. It's not going in through our stomach, through our liver, through our adrenals, and down and out, right? The coffee enema is going up and in, and it goes into the lower part of our intestines, which is not normally where plain coffee would come into. One of the things that I've heard about coffee enemas is that it helps encourage your liver to dump. But what I've really noticed is the brain clarity that happens with a coffee enema. And it's different than drinking coffee. With drinking coffee, you also get kind of this stimulation and this opening. But with a coffee enema, it feels much more like a brain cleaning. Like it feels like my brain like opens up and gets cleaned out. It's one of my best tricks for when I have gluten, that it actually really helps me like get the stuff out of my intestines faster and really clears up my brain a lot better. Also, like doing detoxing, like when we're detoxing and when toxins are being released from our body and then they go into our gut and they're not getting out and we're reabsorbing them, we start to feel that detox symptoms, which is the brain fog and the headaches and you want to close your eyes and you just kind of feel like everything's heavy and coming in on you. And so really getting those toxins out are really useful, but also really getting the coffee into our gut. There's a access between our gut and our brain. And so there's this in fact, one of my friends actually just recently sent me an article. I was suggesting to him for his detox process to try coffee enemas, and he sent me an article talking about the gut-brain axis and how much coffee enemas can increase the communication using the vagus nerve between the gut and the brain. That there's actually, it's kind of like almost like a workout, or like it improves the connection between our gut and our brain, which I have fully experienced firsthand. Like I love how my brain feels after a coffee enema. Like, it's really incredible. So what I think is partly happening with migraines is, my guess is that like when we're kind of, when we have toxins like in our body and we have toxins in our brain, everything kind of starts to like freeze up in a certain way or swell up, or there's like there's a problem in the functioning of our brain. And so when we do a coffee enema, it like kind of, it both gets the stuff out of our intestines as well as gives this boost to our brain. It also allows our brain to detox. And so we feel that opening both in our gut and our belly and also in our brain. So I watched people who could barely open their eyes. And one of the things that we didn't actually serve coffee enemas regularly. We only did it for very special occasions. And most of those special occasions were people with migraines. And so I happened to be one of the staffers who got to make a lot of these coffee enemas and deliver them to people who were really in serious pain. And then to watch them, you know, even like an hour later, like walk and dance and look like brand new people. Like, it's really, really miraculous thing. And, you know, in my journey, I've done a lot of things that haven't been so backed by science. I've done a lot of like firsthand experimenting with a lot of like check in and listen to my body. Like, I've never done things just to see. Like, I've always made sure that there's a yes in my body, and that, you know, maybe sampled it, maybe tried it and checked in and made sure that it feels really good to my body. Which is tricky when you're detoxing, because you're feeling bad when you're detoxing. But, you know, most people are pretty squeamish with the idea of coffee enemas. Like, coffee enemas are a pretty weird thing. Like, totally, like, I mean, I lived at a place where everybody was doing enemas. So for me, it was somewhat normalized. The enemas that everybody was doing regularly were water enemas and wheatgrass enemas. And then the coffee enemas were something that people with migraines did, and to be honest, also the staff was doing a lot of coffee enemas. So I was like in a coffee enema culture. And, you know, like we kind of started having this like inside joke of the coffee enemas were like this superpower. It's like you really feel like you're like more on, and it's different than coffee, because coffee you have this like up and down, whereas coffee enemas you have much more of like this big up, and it lasts a long time. And you get this like brightness in your eyes, and you feel more on it, you feel more clear, especially like when you're detoxing, it makes you feel like off and achy and heavy. And so to keep doing your detox and support your detox while feeling good and even feeling like you have like this extra energy, it's like a superpower. I mean, can you imagine so this is the other place that I wanted to share, is that when, you know, most people are squeamish around enemas, but oftentimes it's the migraine people who are kind of willing to do whatever, because migraines can be debilitating. Migraines can really put people out for days or long periods of time. So they're often the more willing people to be like, I kind of try everything, because here I am stuck with this migraine. I can't open the windows. I'm in so much pain. I can't do anything besides lay in bed in the dark. So they're often the people who are more willing to try coffee enemas. So if you're one of those people, then I would recommend trying it out. I mean, you can also just do it to help your detox or to have some superpowers. But if you're having a migraine, there's like a really good reason to give it a shot. Now, you want to make sure and follow all the basics, have really pure water, have organic light roast coffee, and you want to make sure that you have all of the pieces, like do some research, go to my other podcasts, like get the information to do your coffee enema correctly. And it's only awkward for that first little like second. It's not so awkward. So there's my little spiel on coffee enemas for migraines. And I know migraines can just being in pain is hard, and having migraines is hard. And coffee enemas are a miraculous solution for migraines. So if you are someone who uses coffee enemas for migraines, please leave some comments below, both for me and the other people watching this, so that we can all see and hear your success stories. And have a beautiful day, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.